Hey everybody, how are you doing today? And what is today's movie? Today's movie is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and in my opinion, this is the most memorable Christmas song of all time, just simply because of the fact I've heard it way too much. And, how does the movie fare up? Well, before we get into that, let's talk about what the movie's even about. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, he's a misfit. He's an outcast, just simply because of the fact he has a red nose that shines and all that. He's a misfit and he's outcasted by society. And, there's an elf named Jeremy, and, unfortunately, he doesn't want to be a toy maker. He wants to become a dentist, so he's also an outcast. And when Rudolph and Jeremy meet up and they finally meet, they decide that since because of the fact they're outcasts and they're misfits, they want to go find a place where they will be accepted by everybody. And they come across this thing called the Island of Misfit Toys. And while there, this horrible storm is raging on. This horrible winter storm is raging on. And Rudolph decides to go back to where he was and talk to Santa Claus and say, hey, listen up. The Island of Misfit Toys need help. They need a home. They need a place to be safe. And, with the storm raging on, Santa can't do that. But Santa does get an idea and decides to use Rudolph's red nose to help basically keep the darkness of that storm visible during all of his travels, and Rudolph ends up becoming a part of Santa's sleigh. And everybody knows the story. It's just as simple as the outcast rises up and becomes what he was meant to be. And just based on the story alone, it's cliche, but all the details are what makes it original. Alright, so now, how does this movie fare up? In my opinion, this may be like one of the weakest entries out of all of the stop-motion animation movies created by the Jewel and Bass production. And, as a matter of Santa Claus is Coming to Town was made by the same production company that made this. And I think this one is probably the weakest out of all the stop motion animation ones. But I'm not saying it's bad. So let's start off with the positives. And one of my main positives is, once again, the story. The story is very, very original, and though it has the same moral, though it has a very cliche moral about being able to accept others despite your prejudices, get rid of all the prejudices, don't have a prejudice, and accept people. That's the moral of the story, but I like what goes on in it. The Island of Misfit Toys is a really, really good idea, and it allows our characters to develop. And not only that, we meet the Abominable Snowman, who is also kind of an outcast because everyone is so afraid of him, when in reality he's just a guy. He's an outcast, just like everybody else. And it feels nice to see the outcasts get what they want at the end, and everything end up being happy. And I like the story. It's a good story. Another really good thing is the animation, and in my opinion, all stop-motion animation is actually really impressive, because stop-motion does take a long time and is very tedious to do. And with the stop-motion animation in this is where I would say stop-motion animation is honestly, this is a prime example of how good this type of animation can even be. Because the animation in this is very, very fluent, and with all the flying techniques that they do in this, I don't know how they pulled it off, and it looks really good. Not only that, their attention to detail is precise. Though at times some of the mouth movements don't necessarily match up with what some of the characters are saying. That's a tiny nitpick. Everything else is very detailed, very precise, and very, very good. Okay, so now we're going to get into the negatives, and my first main negative is some of the voice acting is honestly really annoying. Especially with the character of Jeremy. I have no idea why, but his voice annoyed me to no end. I understood what they were trying to do. They were trying to make us want to side with the bad guys and say, hey, yeah, they're outcasts, they're annoying, get them out of here, and then eventually we would be won over. But here's the thing. I can't, with his character, his voice was very, very annoying. It was very squeaky and at times was very just, how do I say it? Felt way too ridiculous for its own good. And not only that, his singing sections were also really, really terrible because a lot of the songs that he performs are just not memorable. They're not that well. Like the lyrics aren't that good. They're not well crafted, and he was overall really annoying. And some of the voice acting in this is honestly pretty annoying. But the rest of it is good. I'd say about 75% of it is good, but then the 25% of it is really annoying, especially with Jeremy. Now, the other main negative I have with this is that lots of the songs, or at least just a couple of the songs, are not very memorable, they're not well crafted, and the lyrics aren't very creative, inspired, or anything like that. And, though you could argue that it's kind of a given that when you create a movie that is based off of a song, the lyrics for any of the other songs aren't necessarily going to be that inspired or anything because this is literally coming from a song. And well, I am here to say this: the original songs in this aren't very good. Some of them are, but especially the Misfit song, I really didn't like. It wasn't sung well. I didn't like the flow it had. I didn't necessarily like its rhythm. Overall, I mean, lots of the singing and lots of the songs are just, at best, subpar. But just because something is subpar and some of the voice acting is meh, that doesn't mean that this is a meh movie. This is honestly a very good movie. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's a classic. I mean, technically it is a classic because it is Rudolph, but for me, this doesn't have the place, or has a place in my heart quite like any of these movies here do. And because of it, I'm going to give Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer a 7 out of 10. Alright, so well, there we go. We just went over Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Tomorrow we're going to look over the stop-motion animation sequel, which is called Rudolph's New Year. And, well, we'll have some fun with that, and, well, you're going to have to wait to hear my opinion about it tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, evening, night, whatever the heck time you're watching this in. I'll see you next time.